Welcome back everyone. Today's training video on Omega controllers by Bermod will focus specifically on the Omega settings. Please navigate to cloud.bermod.io, sign in and open an Omega controller. Perfect. You should be viewing your controller's home page now. Please click on the controller setting icon to begin. You are now viewing your controller settings. Directly below controller, you will find a list of all the devices that have been added to this controller. Selecting any of these devices will jump to that specific device settings. For this example, we will start at the top or general settings and go over each line one at a time. Controller name is the first item on the list. Choose a unique name to easily identify this Omega. Below name you will find the Omega serial number with a red box that reads Remove. Here is where you can remove this Omega from this site. To remove a controller from a site, simply select the Remove button, then enter the activation code found on the back of the Omega and then hit Remove. As you navigate through the setting, you will see multiple sync buttons. Bermod recommends hitting the sync button after making changes. Site is the next line in the settings. If you have more than one site linked to this user, the user can move an Omega from this site to another site. Status enabled will allow the Omega to operate normally. Status disabled will not allow the Omega to operate or update. Controller description is next. Please enter a description unique to this Omega. Please select your time zone here. The location shows the GPS location you were at when you added this Omega to your site. To update the location, please click on the coordinates. Once the map feature opens, you will be allowed to click on the pin and drag the pin to the desired location. Select Save to lock it in place. The main valve feature allows an user to set one of the outputs as a main valve, which will operate at the same time as any other output. Typically this is used when the Omega is starting a pump or there is a master valve on a main line. To operate multiple programs at the same time requires this setting to be active. Verify switch is on. The next setting is valve overlapping time. This is used to stagger open and closing times to eliminate excessive demands on the system, which happens when multiple valves open at the same time. You should never have to do anything with the SIM card number. Reset controller to factory settings will erase all devices and names from your site. Bermod recommends this only when a user is starting new. The last general setting shows what firmware this Omega is operating on. If there are updates available, they will be shown here. This Omega is up to date. The valve settings are after the general settings. We will go over the first valve and the main valve. Starting from the top, you will see valve name. Please select a unique name to easily identify this valve. Press sync after all changes have been made. The output number shows what output terminal this valve is wired to. Enter a valve description if desired. Entering a value on the nominal flow line will open the low and high flow rate parameters and notifications. To utilize the flow alert feature, we must know the flow rate through this valve. Here we can tell the Omega what flow meter this valve is in series with. By default, a sampled low flow or high flow 25% above or below the nominal value will trigger an alert. An alert can be set to close this valve, stop this program, pause this program, send an alert, or do nothing. To adjust this parameter value and result, please click here. Flow alert delay and line fill-up time will vary per application. Use these delays to eliminate premature notifications. The absence of a pulse from a flow meter could indicate that a pump or valve failed to start or open. Here we can tell the Omega what to do if it doesn't receive a pulse from a meter. The last setting under valves is the option to enable long run times. Enable this switch if valve duration needs to be greater than 24 hours. To remove this valve from the controller, simply hit this delete button. Great work getting this far. We will now go over the main valve settings. Just like all the other devices on this Omega, we need a unique name to help identify this output. We have landed the pump output wires on terminal number 5. This pump is powered by a VFD. We will give this output a description named VFD. An Omega controller has a feature that will allow a grower to select the opening order of the main valve and the control valves on a system. Typically, one would open the control valves prior to starting a pump and vice versa when stopping a pump. Please make changes to opening and closing sequence here. Another critical aspect associated with opening and closing order is the time between each device. To customize these settings for your application, please click here. This will complete this Omega training video by Bermad on general settings along with valve and main valve settings. Thanks for watching.